Long ago, in a time forgotten by most, there was a town named Aldamam, resting between a blazing desert and silent heroes. Once, the land of Aldamam had yielded gold beneath its soil, but now it faced flames from the sky. For 3 years, not a single drop of rain had fallen. Rivers had dried up, ponds cracked under the scorching sun, and animals were perishing from thirst. Water had become more precious than diamonds or pearls. On the outskirts of this town lived a young man named Rahim, tending to his ancestral fields. At 25, the weight of responsibility had etched premature seriousness onto his face. His father, Sheikh Jamal, had been known as the kindest man in the town. Before passing away, he had given Rahim one final instruction. "My son, the old well in the center of our land is our family's trust. Even if your life depends on it, never sell it and never deny anyone a drink from it." Rahim had taken his father's words to heart, guarding them like a talisman. Among all the wells in the region, only his still held a trace of water deep within. Day and night, Rahim labored pulling ropes, hauling water, and providing it freely to the town's poor, widows, and livestock. People called him the Angel of Water. But evil often wears the face of familiarity. Rahim's uncle, Mirwas Khan, was a greedy and cunning man. His eyes constantly roamed over Rahim's land and the well. Mirwas knew that in this drought, if he could seize the well, he could sell water and become the ruler of the entire town. Mirwas had 2 sons, Shaka and Raka, who were even more ruthless and merciless than their father. One ill-omened evening, as a red storm swirled across the sky, Mirwas arrived at Rahim's hut with his sons. Masking deceit behind a veneer of concern, he said, "Rahim, my boy, I hear the water in the well is sinking. People are dying of thirst. An old mystic once told me that if, on the dark night of the new moon, we descend into the well and recite a special prayer, the spring will flow again." Rahim, whose heart was as pure as glass, could not sense his uncle's treachery. Believing it to be a noble act, he replied, "If my effort can quench the town's thirst, I am ready to descend into the well tonight." As night deepened, a suffocating darkness enveloped the land. They reached the well, which yawned like a deep, terrifying abyss. A strange, icy wind emerged from within, drying the sweat from their bodies. Mirwas tied a thick rope around Rahim's waist. "Go, my son. May Allah protect you," he said. Slowly, Rahim began his descent. The further he went, the dimmer the light became. Moss and shadows clung to the walls of the well, and the chill seeped into his bones. Every time Mir Hamza and his sons tried to touch the water, it retreated as if by magic. The more they bent, the lower the water sank. Shaukat tried to scoop it into his hands, but it slipped through his fingers like sand. His palms remained bone dry. Rahim's voice rang out deep and thunderous. "Uncle, you shed blood for this water, didn't you? You took the rights of an orphan. From today, this water will remain around you, but it will never be yours. You will live with thirst forever. You may stand in rivers, but this water will not let you drink. This is divine justice. This is the punishment of Tantalus." Mir Hamza and his sons clawed at the water like madmen, screaming, "Water! Water!" But the water refused to touch them. Their wealth, their pride, everything was helpless against nature itself. The merchant who had bought the land, terrified at the scene, threw down his bag of gold and fled to the city, saving his life. The villagers fell at Rahim's feet, weeping. "You are no ordinary human. You are an angel sent by Allah." Rahim lifted them gently. "I am no angel," he said. "I am only a man who never let go of patience." A fragrant breeze swept through the air. Only Rahim heard it, the soft, familiar voice of Jimal. "Rahim, your promise is fulfilled. You no longer belong to this world. The water is calling you." Rahim looked at his village one last time, now lush and alive. He slowly stepped back toward the well. As he entered the waters, his body dissolved into water itself, merging with the life-giving stream. The fate of Wadi Akik changed forever. Rahim's fields in the well became legendary across the Arab lands as the spring of blessings. Crops flourished, and no one went hungry. People say that the water from that well cures every illness. And Mir Hamza? His fate was a nightmare for those who hear it. He and his sons went mad, wandering the valley like lunatics. Travelers tell tales of seeing 3 old men along the riverbanks standing in the flowing water, desperate to drink, yet the water always eludes them. Their lips are dry as leather, their eyes cold as stone. They live hell on earth even while surrounded by water. Even today, elders across the Arab lands tell their children the story of Rahim to teach them that patience and virtue can make springs gush even from stone, and greed and cruelty can leave one dying of thirst in the middle of the ocean. The walls of the well were slick and treacherous. As Rahim neared the bottom, he called out, "Uncle, I've reached the bottom. It's all mud here, and the water is almost gone." From above, Mirwas's cruel laughter echoed through the shaft. "Water may be scarce, nephew," he sneered, "but your life is even shorter." Rahim's heart froze. "Uncle, what are you saying?" "This land and this well belong to me now," Mirwas roared. "You have been a thorn in my path. From today, this well will be your grave." Before Rahim could react, Mirwas and his sons cut the rope. Rahim plummeted into the muck and stones below. His scream choked in the well as his body hit the bottom. Deep cuts tore through him, but the mud softened his fall just enough to keep him alive. Above, Mirwas began covering the well with a massive stone. Soon, the small patch of sky visible from the bottom disappeared. Rahim was now entombed alive. Darkness pressed in. The stench was suffocating, and silence reeked of death. He screamed, he cried, he pleaded, but the men above had come to kill, not to listen. Hours dragged on. Perhaps the day had broken outside, but in the well, only night persisted. Rahim's throat was parched, and blood dripped from his wounds. Death seemed inevitable. Then, in the inky blackness, a faint glimmer caught his eye. Rubbing his clouded vision, he saw it. A soft light emerging from a corner of the mud. Dragging himself toward it, he found a half-buried doll. But this was no ordinary toy. Made not of cloth, but some strange, translucent material, it glowed like a firefly in the dark. Even more horrifying, 7 large iron nails were driven into its chest, hands, and feet. Rahim forgot his own pain as he stared at it. The doll seemed alive, speaking to him silently. Its suffering mirrored his own. "Someone has trapped you as they trapped me," he thought. Rahim spoke aloud, his voice trembling. "I may not be able to save my life, but maybe I can free you from this pain." His hands shook, fingers slick with blood and mud, but he summoned every ounce of strength. Gripping the first nail in the doll's chest, he pulled. Then, one by one, he extracted the others. With every nail removed, the air in the well seemed to shift, the temperature changing, almost as if the well itself was breathing again. She opened her palm. Resting upon it was a blue pearl, glowing softly, like a frozen tear. "Take this, Rahim," she said, placing it in his hand. "Keep it clenched in your fist. As long as this pearl is with you, the fire of the underworld may burn your body, but it will not turn your soul to ash. Remember, you will feel every ounce of pain. That fire will try to melt your courage." Rahim closed his fingers around the pearl. Its cold seeped into his veins. Looking into Jimel's eyes, he asked, "Princess, what lies beyond that door?" With grave seriousness, Jimel replied, "Beyond it is the infernal forge. The sorcerer's most terrifying servant stands guard there, an Ifrit. He has sealed the true vein of water with a lock forged in hellfire. You must evade the Ifrit's gaze and break that burning lock." She paused, then added, "You will have only one chance. If you turn back, The path will close forever. Rahim inhaled deeply. Images of thirsty children from his village flashed before his eyes. He whispered, "Allahu Akbar," and pushed the black door open. The door creaked apart and Rahim stepped into a world that resembled hell itself. There was no trace of water. Rivers of molten rock flowed in every direction. Above, instead of a sky, hung a ceiling of burning embers, raining fire. The air was thick with poisonous smoke, making every breath a struggle. Ahead stretched a narrow, fragile bridge, suspended over a deep chasm of roaring fire. At the far end, hanging from a massive slab of rock, was the lock of hell as large as an elephant's head, glowing red-hot as if freshly pulled from a furnace. A heavy chain ran through it, disappearing into a black wall behind. Rahim felt it in his heart. The water of mercy was imprisoned beyond that wall. Rahim placed his first step onto the bridge. A sharp hiss echoed as the soles of his shoes began to burn. The heat was unbearable. His skin blistered. It felt as though his blood itself was boiling. "O Lord, give me strength," he murmured. He had barely reached the middle of the bridge when the river of fire below erupted. With a thunderous roar, flames rose and formed into a monstrous shadow. It was the Ifrit. Its body was made of burning coals, its eyes blazing with pure hatred. The Ifrit saw Rahim and laughed a laugh so terrifying that the underworld trembled. "Dust-born creature," it thundered, its voice crashing like storm clouds. "Here, water turns to steam and iron melts. You have come to offer your life." Rahim trembled.